Welcome everyone to our first webcast series featuring Cinco's newly announced Board of Advisors. Our advisors will leverage their valuable industry experience to support Cinco's continued growth as a leader in land management services for the energy industry. My name is Camille Nichols and I'm the president of Cinco Energy Management Group. And today I am pleased to be joined by Mr. Kelley Burch for a short Q&A addressing the unique value created by land professionals and the difference that experience really makes in the practice of land. First, I'd like to give you some background about our guest today. Mr. Burch has enjoyed a successful career in exploration and production, acquisitions and divestitures in every facet of the land and business development for over 35 years. He is a graduate of the University of Oklahoma, Price College of Business with a degree in petroleum land management and is a certified professional landman. He began his career in energy with Tenneco Oil Company, and he subsequently held several leadership positions in land and business development for both private and public E&P companies. He spent most of his career with Newfield Exploration, where he was a member of the team charged with bringing Newfield onshore into several basins as the manager of new ventures and business development. Mr. Burch was subsequently part of the leadership teams for three growth-oriented upstream startup companies: Vitruvian One Exploration with assets in the Permian and Mississippian Lime, NRP Oil and Gas focused in the Williston and Appalachian basins, and Katina Resources also focused in the Permian. Kelley, welcome, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Camille.
The first thing I'd like to talk to you about today is the value of the landman. And in particular for people outside of the land business, how would you describe the value that landmen bring to an E&P company?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is just the land profession as a whole. It's a very passionate group and very oriented towards the end goal of understanding the entirety of what the task that is upon them. A landman, some people in the industry look at landmen, outside of the industry, they look at landmen as, oh, you run title and you buy oil and gas leases, which is a huge part of what we do. But there's so much more to it. For example, the field landman becomes the face of the company. The field landman is not only negotiating oil and gas leases, rights of way, damages, surface issues, but the field landman naturally for the company becomes the face of the company because he's dealing with not only the landowners, the mineral owners, their bankers, their lawyers, and the public as a whole. And the other thing, advantage that the company gets and the management team gets from that particular field landman is important scouting data, what the offset operators are doing, just intel that's when you have boots on the ground, that's a huge source of information for the company. And segue that into what I'll call the in-house landman, is you've got the commercial side of taking that data, that information to management as a whole, as to whatever the project is. If it's organic leasing, you've got a project that you're going out and you're putting it together yourself, or if it's A&D, you're acquiring an asset. So the importance of taking that data, bringing it in, and then the commercial landmen can use that data. But what is huge that the experienced land professional brings in-house, especially as long as I've been doing it, is a huge business development network, and that opens so many doors. And what's so important to, especially to the growth-oriented new management teams, it's so competitive. And what everybody wants is when they're looking for that asset, is they want that asset before it hits the market, before they take it public. They want to have an opportunity for a private sale, a private acquisition, and which falls into the huge network that most experienced land professionals have. Another part of what maybe people outside of the industry don't understand is under the umbrella of the land department is you have to manage the assets. So that falls into land administration. It is so crucial to have the assets properly not only identified, but the ownership correct at depth. It can be very confusing at times, but with the proper data that you can manage, that the land administration department manages, depending on what the exit is of the company, the last thing you want is, just say you're going to monetize an asset, and you're relying on all of that data that's in the land management system, be it net acres, unitized acres, anything, obligations, anything that affects those assets. The last thing you want is, if you're monetizing that asset, is to have defects in the end. Sure. So you have to understand and every landman, experienced professional landman understands this. You come into a project knowing what the exit strategy is. And from that first asset, that first lease that you purchase or that you negotiate, you are looking at as potentially down the road on whatever the company's goals are. It may be just to build, not monetize. But there's so much involved with just under the umbrella of what we call, a landman or a professional landman or a land department, from management all the way through, something as simple as go out and see if you can get the landowner to give you a lease for 5 acres for facilities. It's whatever the company needs is what Landman will do, and they will do it enthusiastically.
Absolutely. Well said. Great. Well, there's another topic that I'd like to get your feedback on, and it's about experience. And so, as both an industry observer and somebody who's been on several E&P leadership teams, why would you say that it's so important to have an experienced land professional on a management team?
That's a great question. And having touched on that and a little with the first question, I have to tell a story to me that was very special. And many of my friends have heard this story before. I was fortunate enough to work with Joe Foster, who was not only the president of Tenneco, but when Tenneco was sold, he founded Newfield Exploration Company, which you had mentioned. I spent many years with, and I was fortunate enough to be in the early days of developing, of bringing Newfield on shore. And one day after a meeting, Joe Foster pulled me aside, and this was back when many of the companies were forming asset teams. So he pulled me aside one day and he said, Kelley, I see you land professionals. You not only understand the business side of the need of the company and each asset team, but he said, I see you guys as closers. And he pinned that on me, and I was so happy and privileged to hear him say that, but he was right on. And so understanding what the goal is and envisioning the entirety of the project is so important. So having a member of the management team of any size company, but it's so important to have a member that not only understands what it takes to put an E&P project together from cradle to grave, but to also understand everything that's involved with that. And I'm not just talking about oil and gas leases. There could be environmental issues. There could be regulatory issues. You may not, the company may have as part of its philosophy, not doing anything 100%, working interest in bringing in partners. Mm-hmm. So that part segues into having that huge business development network that is so important. So there are so many parts that, as part of management, having a land professional on your team that understands every facet of land, from what the field guys do and what they need, making sure you don't hit any potholes, such as acquiring an asset that has an environmental issue that you didn't know about, or acquiring an asset that you thought you had the deep rights and actually you don't. And those are the rights that you were hoping you had. It's so crucial to be able to be a part of that team, but understand what the company goals are and how to facilitate those, and understanding commercial contracts, everything from a letter of intent to a JOA, a joint operating agreement, to joint venture agreements, all the way to PSAs, purchase and sale agreements, and understands the ins and outs of those. Also understanding how you work with legal and how your land administration, the importance of the land management of the asset, how that not only works for your company reporting and accurately reporting, but how that works with accounting. So having that land manager that, or VP of land, or whatever the title would be, is an integral part, to me, of the success of the company. And without that, you're probably, a company could easily fall into some traps that they may not be aware of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really insightful, especially for, where the market is and the level of risk that is in the market these days. Well, thank you so much for your insight and your comments. We really appreciate it, and thank you for everyone for watching today. If our audience has any questions for Kelley, feel free to leave them in the comments below, or you can reach out to Kelley in the provided link. Have a great day, and thank you.
Thank you.